we interrupt whatever you're doing right now. The dishes, going out for the mail, shopping at Target for a commercial. Hey, everybody, it's Jon Meyers from Right Better Together. Look, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers. And we are going to be live in person.
Yes.
At the Southern Festival of Books in Nashville.
For 2 days.
For 2 days. And what are those days?
October 26th, October 27th, Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, and it's an all-day event. We will have a booth there where you can come say hello. We'll be wandering around as well. You can get a signed copy of our book, and we would just love to see you there.
Booth number 81. Little map right here. Maybe I'll even put an arrow pointing at the map at where 81, the general vicinity of 81 is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And you can learn more at the website,
which is sofestobooks.org. So SOFESTOFBOOKS.org.
Awesome.
Welcome everybody to Right Better Together. I'm Jon Meyers. Hey, look everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers.
Hey, Emily, what are we talking about today?
Well, we have quite the list and quite the guest. We're going to be talking to Fallon Bechtel about fan fiction.
I forgot to ask her about the Bechtel Test. Dang.
Oh, man. We missed opportunity. Goodness gracious. Before that, we're going to have viewer responses, as always. Fallon's going to give you all a call to action. We're going to have a Hey Jon Meyers segment where I teach Jon Meyers something interesting.
About
and then we're going to play... What?
About birds.
You'll see. And then we're going to play a silly game.
We're the #1 podcast for profanatory warblers. Did I say it right?
Profanatory, actually, I think.
Profanatory warblers. There you go.
I need to put a picture up of that because they really are the cutest birds ever.
Profanatory warblers. Do you know what a barred owl says to you?
Who cooks for you?
Yeah, exactly. Is that going to be your Hey Jon Meyers?
No, thankfully. But I did hear an owl the other night outside at my...
Did it say who cooks for you?
Yeah, it did.
So you had a barred owl.
It was a barred owl. We hear him every once in a while.
We're the #1 podcast for barred owls. See, so they have a thing where they say who cooks for you, and then that whatever that other bird that says drink your tea answers who cooks for you, and then the other bird's like shut up, drink your tea.
The eastern towhee.
Oh,
but the eastern towhee's only going to sing during the day, so...
Oh, and the owl only says that at night?
Most of the time.
To haunt you? If you're at home alone and you don't have anyone to cook for you?
Yeah. What's really cool is if you hear, not to go too long about this, what's really cool is if you hear two barred owls, because they sound like howler monkeys when they're together. They make the craziest sound. Google it, seriously.
They don't say who cooks for you if there's two of them?
So who cooks for you is their general call, but then they also have other noises that they make that sound like howler monkeys.
That's crazy. You'd think they go, who cooks for you? And then the other one says, who cooks for you? And then the other one says, who cooks for you?
And then there's the baby one, Screech, and I heard one the other night.
Oh my goodness, you live in an owl sanctuary.
I guess so.
So did you get out of your owl sanctuary this week, Emily?
I did. 2 things. I did go kayaking, and I'm only going to mention that because we didn't see the prothonotary warblers as we hoped we would. But we saw a lot of other cool things, so it was fine. But the main thing I wanted to say is, because we talk about mental health on this podcast a lot, and if anybody reads my blog or has been listening a while, they know that I talk and write very openly about like my anxiety and things that I've overcome. There are very few things now that I like really makes me anxious. I get anxious, but like it's not normally about things. But I do have a phobia of needles. And I'm not, that's the last time I'm going to say that in this conversation. I'm going to be
glad
really...
I don't have that.
I know, exactly. So I'm going to be really cryptic the rest of this conversation so that neither of us are triggered. And nobody listening is triggered. By the way, I love when you look up things like how to get over this phobia. There's a picture of, like, every article comes with a picture of one. And I'm like, thanks a lot.
That's how you get over it. You look at the picture.
Look at that picture. Oh my goodness. My doctor ordered me to have a, not ordered, but she she ordered a lab test for me. I had to tell my therapist that I was going to do it this time, and I didn't back down even though yesterday I couldn't remember where the place was. I had to call the office. Like, there were barriers that I easily could have just been like, well, it's fine. I won't do it today. But I did it. And I'm going to be honest, I thought about leaving, but I didn't. In 10 minutes I was gone. I left. I was fine. I felt like such a difficult patient because I was really needy about, like, she gave me ice. They let me lay down because I told her, like, hey, I get kind of lightheaded when this happens, and she was actually very nice. She was like, "Oh, I appreciate you telling me. Some people don't tell me. So here's what we do." And then she, like, had a procedure. She had, like, how long she wanted me to sit there afterwards. Even though I said I was fine, she, like, made sure I sat there a little longer just to make sure. And I just felt so good and so relieved afterwards about having done that. It doesn't mean that I feel ready to, like, just get that done every day, but every time I expose myself to it, it gets a little easier. That's not me bragging, that's just me sharing a win for me, and I know many of you probably relate to that. Sometimes you have to just make yourself do something.
One, I hate that you brought this up.
I told you, I prepared you ahead of time.
Two, you said test. I didn't know you meant blood test. The reason I hate it is because I also had a blood test this week. Emily has diagnosed me as having a fear because I always say I don't have a fear. I don't have anxiety. Is it a fear or is it anxiety or is it just a hatred? First of all, mine isn't needles because I didn't see, like, I don't see it because I don't look. Mine is the throbbing of when they put the thing around your arm and it starts throbbing,
Oh, interesting.
and to make your veins show better.
Mm.
And after 10 holes of not being able to find
Oh.
my vein, and I'm not looking at this whole time. Audience, I'm crying. I took it way worse. It
Oh.
was an hour and a half, and
Yeah,
I
that's
took it
really
way
rough.
worse than Emily did. um,
Oh.
I was a giant baby.
I mean, I
Um,
wasn't happy about it. It was a victory because I did it, but it doesn't mean I was like, "This is great."
well, and you said it got easier. It is not. It was not easier than the last time
Well,
that I
I
did
think
it.
that's fair because depending on how bad it is, sometimes it can get worse. Like, the last one I did was not easy because I had a bad experience. This one was easier, or sorry, this one was not easy because I had a bad experience last time. I'm hoping that that means it'll be easier next time because it was a better experience, but I don't know. Like, it's still just not fun. It's
I will be
it's never
more
going to be
apprehensive next time, which will be a year from now, hopefully.
right, because after you have a bad experience, it makes it harder. So hopefully next time will be a good experience, or at least a better experience.
And then the other thing you said, you had every opportunity to leave. So after about an hour, the torture assistant, whatever her name is, she's like, we just need to make a different appointment for you to just come back. And I'm like,
No.
no. And
You gotta
so
do
you
it.
waited from
Yeah,
May until July. I was like, I made the appointment and went to get it. I want to get it over with.
exactly.
I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back and having this awfulness for another come back next week. No way. So I got it over with. And good thing I insisted. So they laid me down, which apparently last time they had me lay down. Well, why didn't you have me lay down this time?
Yeah, laying down's better.
That time it took 3 minutes after she
Right.
prepped the lay down area. My results came back. I'm 100% good, so you're not getting rid of
Yay.
me anytime soon. And
Mine also
so
came back good, so we're good. Yay.
yeah, and so that was so there's the relief that you were
Yes.
talking about, right? Is
Right.
because you know you have a clean bill of health, But here's what I don't like, because I don't like to hear all those words of the diseases, right? She calls me, because my doctor calls me. My doctor also texts me sometimes. Like, I can just text my
Wow.
doctor right now if I wanted to. That's pretty cool. And she's like, you don't have this. Like, I'm not going to say them, but like, you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have. I'm like, I've already trained you not to say the names of the
Don't
diseases.
say
And
it.
even if I don't have them, I don't need to. Why are you telling me what I don't need to know. If I have something, don't tell me, just fix it. And if I don't have anything, I don't need to know. I don't have a broken leg right now. You didn't call and tell me I don't have a broken leg.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
why
get
are we?
that. Well, I mean, I share that because I know that even if people don't have an anxiety disorder or a panic disorder, there's usually something where they're like, I don't want to do this thing, but you have to do it anyway. And it is possible. You can do it.
And they know. So it was a different nurse or assistant or whatever she was, and my doctor, she already knows I'm like this, right? And so it's the same way at the dentist. They know I'm a giant baby, and just I don't tell me anything. Just do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Do
Yep.
your job.
I get that.
I don't need to have an opinion on you doing your job.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right, we have viewer responses. So first of
Oh,
all, for this section, I wanted to share that Fallon, who we were talking to today, was one of the
yes.
first people to reach out
She
to
was our
our
first viewer response, or one of the first ones.
to our Write Better Together Facebook account because she messaged us and was like, "I'm so excited about what you're doing, and if you ever want me to come on to talk about fan fiction, I can." And we were like, "Yeah, our first person to reach out, like we're gonna have you on the podcast." So
That's cool.
yeah, so congratulations to Fallon for taking that step and reaching
That
out
was
because she asked for something, and we tell people all the time, like sometimes you have to reach out and you have to ask.
that was so long ago too.
Yeah.
That was like that was as long ago as when your doctor ordered your blood tests.
Yeah.
It was actually longer than that, wasn't it? So anyway, it was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
The other thing is, so
Yes,
when this episode is airing, our book will be out.
out of its bubble, out
It'll
in the
be out of
universe.
its bubble and we'll have links to it and everything.
By the time you're watching this, there'll be links in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, on the back cover of our book, which if you get the
Yes.
digital copy, I don't know if you'll see the back cover, but hopefully you'll still see this.
Yeah, we'll still put the quotes there somehow.
We asked best-selling author David Bell.
New York Times best-selling author?
Yeah,
Ah,
for real.
that's big time.
He writes a book a year. Like we need to have him on. There you go. There's his book Layover, which we read in our pop culture class, which we talk about today with Fallon.
His new one is Storm Warning.
Yes. So that's the one he put on there is Storm Warning and She's Gone. But he seriously is very prolific. It's crazy.
And he
But
said good things about us.
he did. So we sent him our book and he wrote this. And this just
Yes.
makes me so happy and so grateful to him. He says, Write Anyway by Emily Brooks and Jon Meyers is a must read for writers at any stage of their careers. This book is gentle, informative, encouraging, and inspirational. Don't miss it! Exclamation point.
I got goosebumps. He said we're
I
gentle.
I I was really surprised by that he used that word and I love it. Like I just think it fits I think what we were trying to do. So I was really happy that that came through.
Yeah, I agree.
So thank you David Bell. We appreciate you so much and I've learned so much from him. So we'll definitely have to have him on soon.
Yes. Thank
Yes,
you. I'm speechless.
I know. It just makes me feel so good. So y'all listen to his advice. Go read our book. But before you read our book, listen to this conversation that we had with Fallon Bechtel.
And we're back. Hey, I'm still Jon Meyers. Look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, Jon Meyers again. And hey, look, everybody, it's Fallon Bechtel.
Oh my goodness.
Hey!
So, for the listeners, I've known Fallon for, a long time. You were one of the
Oh,
first people that I met at Tribeca, actually. And I
really?
remember us connecting on some things. So,
Oh
um,
God, Emily.
I know I can't remember the class that we were in together. It wasn't
Maybe
English,
it
was
was
it?
an. Oh, I don't know because I took like one or two English classes, but I don't know that our English paths intersected.
There was for some reason, that's my memory is that like we met in the cafeteria or we met in a class or something. So, um, we had a good conversation. I remember that. So,
I'm
why don't
so
you tell
touched.
the listeners?
I'm so
Oh, yeah.
touched.
Why don't you tell the listeners about yourself?
All right. Well, my name is Fallon, as Emily said. She and I met at Tribeca. We've known each other for a long time. Currently, I am working at a primary care clinic for seniors called Centerwell. Not to plug us, but we're awesome. And I just finished my master's degree in social work.
Woohoo!
And once I thank you. Once I get my license, I'm hoping to get into more social work-y things, but it's all a little up in the air at the moment. But that is okay. Sometimes life is transitional, and that's definitely where I'm at.
Awesome. And then, so we are Write Better Together, and we talk about all genres of writing. So why don't you tell them what kinds of things do you write?
So I've dabbled in a little bit of everything. I write poetry. I'm a really good academic writer. And I know
Hmm.
that doesn't, I don't do that like regularly, but I'm a pretty good academic writer. And sometimes I don't know if I write like more free form. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a poem, but it isn't. It's like really long.
Hmm.
I don't know what that would even be called, but I write some of those too. And then most prominently recently, I've been writing some fan fiction as well. So I dabble in a little bit of everything.
Emily and I, you said you were an academic, and you said now had confessed to writing fan fiction. Emily and I had a class together in which we had
Oh,
this Henry Jenkins book, Convergence Culture, where he's the one that created the term the AcaFan, the academic fan. That's you, Fallon.
oh, great. I didn't know there was a name for it.
Yeah, you're an AcaFan.
I guess so.
Yeah, we had this whole class. It was on pop culture and like using that in the classroom. And the book, like the main topic was on fan fiction. And I learned just a lot of things that I hadn't really thought about before, like the function of fan fiction and like
Hmm.
how it's kind of become more of a thing with the internet, obviously, but it's not something that I write. And so I'm just interested in how you got into it and what it is that kind of drew you to that.
Well, I've been writing since I was 12. So it's just something writing in general is just something I love to do. But I'm also nerdy. And I don't know if I think it's twofold. I think it's part of my personality just to be. I fall in love with stories. I fall in love with characters. I'm also on the autism spectrum though, so I think it could also be related to like maybe some special interesty kind of hyperfixation sort of
Mhm.
deal. It's okay. I fully accept it. I'm not ashamed of it. But
I love it.
um, I think that's probably where it first started. If I was really hyper fixated on like a story or a character, I would just want to write about them. And then I would just start writing about them. And I kind of fell into it that way. Certainly my earlier fan fiction is not very good and I cringe reading it. It's an art like anything else. And yeah, I guess because I love writing so much and the characters and the stories that I've written about, it's almost like I'm giving something to them in a way, sort of, if that even makes any sense. So that's really why I got into it, I would say.
You know, as you were explaining that, I was like, man, I actually, growing up, like, we would pretend to be the characters that we loved, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I got into Lord of the Rings, so we would pretend to be hobbits on this journey. And like that's kind of like fan fiction in a way. Like we're not writing it down, but we're creating these stories using these characters.
Yes.
Or like cosplay, or little girls and boys who wear costumes and want to pretend to be their favorite superhero. Like in a way, that's kind of fan fiction.
A little bit. I think one of the things that I really have come to enjoy and appreciate about fan fiction is, like, it's not just, it's kind of an homage to either to the writers of the story, to the characters that I love, to the story that I love. Like, it's a bit of a love letter to that thing for me. So, you know, the one I'm working on right now is in the Stranger Things universe, because I love Stranger Things.
Oh, nice.
And it's basically just a continuation of where the last season left off. And like, I get feedback. So I post it. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. I post it to Archive of Our Own, which is a fan fiction website where you can post your work. And you can post it by chapter, or you can write an entire work and then post the entire thing. But I've been doing it like by chapters. And some of the feedback that I've most frequently gotten, because people can leave like comments and things and leave feedback. And some of the most frequent feedback that I've gotten is like, you write these characters so close to how I see them in like the canon material. And that to me is kind of my goal. I'm kind of a fan fiction purist in that way, if you will. I really try to write the characters as close to the canon as possible. I may like change minor aspects of the canon for my own story, but for the most part, I try to work within the canon material. Not everybody does that. Some people write what they call alternate universe, where they literally just either take the characters and throw them in like a different setting or a different time period. And I personally don't do that, but there are a lot of people that do. But for me, I try to write within the confines of the canon already, because I guess in my mind, I'm like, well, this story, I already love this story exactly the way it is. And I don't want to it feels disingenuous almost to change a major aspect of it just because I don't like it, or I don't know how to write it, or, you know, like, and so, yeah, to me, it's kind of an homage to this story that I love and these characters that I love. And it's, I guess, a respect to the writers of the material too. And
so from what you said,
yes.
First of all, you called it art. So that was interesting, because we have a big art versus product ongoing discussion on the show. But then there's this element where you're posting it and then getting feedback. So you're getting affirmations or critiques on your writing, almost like a national online writer group, like you would if you were sitting in a writer's workshop. As a screenwriter, we frown upon there's no purpose to it for a product, right? You can't write the next episode of Friends and do anything with it, because it's a product, and you don't have the IP to use those characters, and you don't have the IP to use the Stranger Things characters. But as fan fiction, now that, as Emily pointed out, it's exploded since the internet was invented last week. So now that it's exploded, there's a community, and there's a place for it that can make you a better writer. Like Emily's father was on the show, 100 years ago, and and he talked about the farm system. So it's almost like a farm system to train you to accept feedback, to train you to be part of this community, and then you can go create product because you've honed your skills while you created your fan fiction art that's an homage to these people or character.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love the way you put that. That's really how I look at it, though. Like I really agree with that mindset of almost like it, in a way, it's kind of a writer's playground, I guess, in a way, and it kind of allows you. You're correct, Jon Meyers, to hone those skills, and like some of the most like pop culture exploded stories of the day did originate from fan fiction. I mean, 50 Shades of Grey did. It was originally Twilight fan fiction.
Right.
The screenwriter of Nomadland, what's her name? Chloe Zhao? Maybe that's her. I think that's her name. She wrote fan fiction and still does, to my knowledge. You know, and so it is a little bit of, I guess, experimental for a writer to kind of take these characters that have already been fleshed out and take these settings that have already been established and take these storylines that have already been established and kind of play with them. Either, like me, use what's already there to create, I guess, what I think would happen in a situation, or for some other people, you know, as I've said, that they do like alternate universe, so they put them in a different time period or you know, whatever, what have you. But yeah, I really agree with that assessment. It really is great practice, and to accept feedback as well. I mean, that's the beauty of a website like Archive of Our Own, where you can post your work, and then people can comment, and you it's almost like in real time you kind of are getting a sense of like how people are receiving what you're writing, and are there certain things that they're pointing out where you're like, oh, okay, didn't realize I kind of wrote a plot hole in there, you know, or things like that. Because sometimes people ask like very legitimate questions, then I'm like, oh shoot, I must have written a plot hole or a plot hole and not realized it. So, but that's the beauty of Archive of Our Own. You can go back and make corrections if you so choose. I try not to, but cool. You can.
I think Fallon froze.
She's in her car. It can't be too frozen. If you're watching on or listening on the, I don't know, on the radio, I was gonna say. You're sitting around in the living room listening on the radio.
Oh no, we lost her.
Fallon's been in her car this whole time. That was the only thing I was gonna say. Which, if you're watching on the YouTube, you already know that. And now, but she wasn't driving, so she didn't crash. She's back.
My phone got overheated and kicked me off.
Oh no!
I'm so sorry. I'm good now, though.
We thought that you had been sucked into the UpsideDown.
Oh, I sure hope not.
Thought.
It looks like a very dismal place.
Yeah. So I just realized something. I've written fan fiction.
You know what? I don't think that's an uncommon like phenomenon to have, though, because I feel like I've heard like people like Maya Hawke, who's in Stranger Things. She plays Robin. She like, I guess there was an interview with her recently where she was like, "Yeah, I wrote like a sequel to the Spiderwick Chronicles or something." Like, you know. And I think there are people now that like are just realizing, they're like, oh, I think I wrote fan fiction actually.
Yeah. So now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, I probably did, like as a kid, you know, scribble down some stories. Or I'm thinking now of poetry that is inspired by stories. Like I've got a poem that I've been meaning to write about Susan from the Narnia series. Or there's an album called Into the Lantern Waste by Sarah Sparks that is, every song is from the perspective of a character in Narnia. It's beautiful. But the one I was thinking of was actually a screenwriting assignment, because my professor at Tribeca said that you'll be hired on to write like an episode of Stranger Things or an episode of, you know, whatever it is. And so he said, write an episode of one of your favorite shows just to get that practice. And I wrote an episode of, and we only did the, I don't know what it's called, but we had to do a story Bible, and then we had to do basically just a slide of what would happen in the story. We didn't have to actually write the script, but I did one of Doctor Who.
Oh my gosh.
I did one from the Matt Smith era, and I took them to China because I was like, they're always in London. I want to take them to China. And there's a reason, right? I made the most expensive episode ever, which is not what they want. But I was super proud of it because I had like a dragon that was a shapeshifter, and I made it a metaphor for the Doctor. And like I had things with Amy and Rory were having conflict. I was so proud of it.
Look at that. See?
I had pictures on my slide.
Love it. Love
It
it.
was so fun.
Okay, I need to clarify something. That in a writer's room, it'll be years before you're tasked with your own script.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It was just
so-
an exercise.
No, I know, but so someone listening at home that's trying to be a screenwriter, because we have those listening, you start as a PA, then you work up to being an assistant that runs in and gets coffee, and how many black and red pens do you need? And then you're at the lower level, and you contribute a little bit, and then finally you work your way up to the top. But that takes years.
Yeah, I'm sure. For sure.
For sure.
Right.
We in that class we watched a documentary, the guy who wrote Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
And it was the most depressing documentary ever because it was about people trying to make it in Hollywood. And our professor showed it to us to show us like, this is what it's like.
Oh my God. Wow.
That's the Phil
talk about a
Rosenthal.
dose of reality.
Yeah.
From Everybody Feed Phil or Somebody Feed Phil. Yeah.
Phil Rosenthal. It's hard for me to say.
Yeah, he's great.
So that leads to, so there's this meta level of fan fiction that
you gave us a thumbs up.
I didn't mean to. I guess I did this and it like read my hand gesture.
Yeah.
I was not
so
expecting
funny.
that. I was like, oh. I mean, thumbs up.
So there's
Now
this
that
meta
feeling is
level where of fan fiction that's getting legitimized to acknowledge the fan, and then is getting made by professional writers. And so I'm going to give this example. So there is Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift fan fiction. And then Hallmark, the Hallmark, not a Hallmark extension or anything like that, has signed a contract with the NFL and we don't talk about sports on this show. This is 2 weeks in a row.
We don't understand sports.
And with the Kansas City Chiefs.
And
with the Kansas City Chiefs, and Hallmark is using some of their writers to write a story about a Kansas City Chief using the real name of the Kansas City Chiefs, but not using Travis and Taylor.
Oh my God.
A real life football player falling in love with a pop star and turning it into a Hallmark movie. So that's fan fiction, but it's also to appeal to fans. There's like the second meta level, and
wow.
Is that fan fiction being legitimized in the industry? We don't know. It's not even written yet, but because they just signed those contracts when we're filming this like 2 weeks ago. So, but that's a real collaboration between Hallmark and the NFL.
Yeah. No, I mean, it seems like that is kind of fan fiction getting legitimized in that way. I mean, I don't know. I keep going back to like, 50 Shades of Grey and how that began as Twilight fan fiction. That's where it originated, and then it just took on a mind of its own and became this thing that we all know now. I think as far as like perhaps the future of like fan fiction and the fan fiction world, I mean, I think there's a large enough community, I feel, where like any like niche, like this book no one's ever heard of, like somebody's written at least a fan fiction about it. I mean, because the world of it is just so vast And so I could definitely see more, like in future years, more kind of, as Jon Meyers said, legitimizing the fan fiction world, where something maybe that started as fan fiction like became a more original story, or like as you mentioned, either the Star Wars books, or I know Stranger Things had a couple of like offshoot novels that are like quote unquote not really canon, but like written into the canon. I would consider those kind of fan fiction-y. So I bet we'll see. I think the fan fiction community is just so vast, and I could definitely see, like, in the future, kind of other examples like that being brought into like mainstream media.
Yeah. Have you read any fan fiction where you were like, this is canon for me now?
Yes, I have. To me, that's a sign to me of like, okay, this is like, there are some wonderful writers. I have to say, like, when it comes to fan fiction authors, there are some wonderful fan fiction authors out there that really do great work. There's still certain fan fiction pieces that I'll go back and reread because they just had that much of an impression on me. So there are some just truly wonderful writers in that world, truly talented people. But yes, there are certain, like, either parts of fan fiction, or within like fandoms, there's also head canons, we call them, where you're not really writing fan fiction, but it's more of a, like, this is my kind of theory about what happened with this, like, and then you're just like, oh, that's like, I accept that as full canon now. Like, that's canon as far as I'm concerned. Like, it can sometimes be really small, silly things. Like in Stranger Things season 4, when, I don't know if you guys have both seen it, but
I have.
You have. Okay. So when Mike has gotten off the plane in California, and he's coming and he's wearing that ridiculous like beach looking outfit with like the shorts and then somebody on Tumblr said, I'm choosing to believe that this is how Max told him people in California dress. And I was like, that's canon to me as far as I'm concerned. Like, she did it just to mess with him. Like, I was like, this is canon. I've adopted this as canon in my mind. So yes. And it's always fun when that happens, because I think people just enjoy looking at these stories, and you know, there's always little things that maybe you don't get an explanation for, and so then in your mind you're like, well, this is my theory about that, or this is my theory about how such and such went. And it's kind of fun to like speculate, you know. It's fun to like and assign your own meaning to it, if you will. So yes, the short answer is yes. I've definitely read like bits of fan fiction, or I've read someone's like headcanon about something and been like, oh yep, that's I'm adding that to the canon. That's it. That's in the canon now. Like, are we all in agreement? Like, it's part of it now. Yeah.
So before you do a call to action, was there anything else that you wanted to, you know, I know you came in here with lots of notes, so I didn't want to like leave you with anything where you're like, I gotta say this thing.
No, I think just what I said before we started, which is just, I think sometimes people hear the word fan fiction and kind of associate it with maybe the more, I guess, inappropriate sub parts of because there is some fan fiction out there that is very adult, we'll say.
Yes. Yeah.
that's the nicest, cleanest way I can put it. There's some that's very, very adult out there, and I think for some people that is the automatic assumption when it comes to, like, when they say fan fiction. I think people's minds automatically go there. And I really want to encourage people, anybody who does kind of have that knee-jerk thought about fan fiction, to really give it another try. Because there are some really beautiful pieces out there that don't involve adult things much at all. You know, sometimes people are just like, hey, this event happened in the canon. Here's how I think it would have gone differently had such and such not happened. I mean, there's plenty of fanfics out there like that. Or like, this character died and I didn't want them to die. So here's my take on what happened if they didn't die. Like, there's all sorts of, there's so much creativity to be found in the fan fiction world. And so I don't want people to deprive themselves by just assuming that the very adult themed fan fiction is the only stuff that's out there, because it certainly isn't. And I don't write stuff. There are some adult themes in some of mine, but nothing gratuitous, nothing like where you're like, geez. Like, I'm very, like, I want to write a story. I don't just want to write inappropriateness. So I really encourage people to have more of an open mind with it and just give it a try. I mean, because like I said, there are some fan fiction pieces that I still go back to and reread because they had such an impact on me. Like, I have a little bookmarked list of like ones that I want to go back to and read again, either because the story itself was good or because the author did something in it that I really liked or appreciated. Or, I mean, like I said, there's so many talented people who write fan fiction, and there are so many talented fan fiction authors, and, you know, and like, it can just add to what you already feel about the story. It can add to what you already feel about the characters that you love and the story that you love. I mean, it can add extra layers to something that's already so special. So yeah, I really encourage people to, like, you know, keep an open mind about it and, you know, give it another go.
I think that's really well said. And we can share, like, we'll put a link to your work in our show notes. So what is your call to action for our listeners?
My call to action. So for the listeners, I would love for you to, you know, step outside of your comfort zone a little bit and try to imagine either like a story that you really love, namely a character that you really love out of a story that already exists. Not a story that you've written, but like a story that already exists. Harry Potter, Hunger Games, whatever it is that you like. And then I want you to write something from their perspective. It doesn't have to be long, but just something from that character's perspective. Just give it a try and see what comes out of it.
Awesome. I love that. Well, Fallon, thank you so much for joining us.
So much fun. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned so much. So thank you for joining us in your car, Fallon, during your lunch break, taking your time off for us.
You are so welcome. I was so excited. I've never been on a podcast before, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to do this. Like, I'll do it on my lunch break. I don't care. So
and no one crashed into you during the entire show.
Nope.
Well, thankfully, my car has been stationary this whole time, so I hope not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're back. I learned so much.
Me too.
From that. We forgot to do the Bechtel test, as I said earlier. If you don't know what the Bechtel test is, people at home, it's when in a film or a TV show, or I guess even in a book, when two women make it through the entire story without talking about a boy.
Yes.
We passed because Emily and Fallon did not talk about a boy.
Yay!
The entire time. So we officially passed the Bechtel test.
Well, that was before our conversation. We talked about my husband, but that doesn't count. It wasn't on record, so
you blew it. You didn't talk about you just talked about his name.
Yes, we talked about his name. Yeah.
All right. His naming rights. Secondly, there was this area where we were talking about legit, like I brought up the Hallmark collaboration with the NFL, because this is the #1 sports podcast on the internet. And I don't want anyone to get the impression that amateur fan fiction is getting legitimized and that someone who wrote a Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift
Gotcha.
thing is going to get hired by Hallmark to write
Right.
something.
Right. I think that's a good clarification.
Because that's not going to happen. Not because I'm negative or pessimistic. This is not how it works. It's like
Yeah.
you don't get to walk into McDonald's and say, "Hey, look, I invented this corned beef sandwich, the McCorned beef," and then and then they're like, "This tastes great. This is the best sandwich I've ever had. I'll start selling it tomorrow." That's not how. It's just not how it works. So there's this area of our conversation where it was turning into like things based on IP properties were like legitimized fan fiction, and that's not true. So like if there's a novelization, like when Emily and I were growing up, they had novelizations of like the Bad News Bears and Smokey and the Bandit and those kind of movies, and then you could go buy the novel, the little paperback novel of it, and that wasn't fan fiction. That was Warner Brothers hiring someone, an existing novelist, to write the Smokey and the Bandit novel, right? So that leads to the question of, even if a miracle happened and your novel got bought by a movie production company, what would happen? I have to talk about Coyote versus Acme. I tried to pull that off and I pulled part of the thing off.
Oh no.
So is this fan fiction? So he just Ian Fraser, who was a novelist, a writer for The Atlantic, he has all of these credits of previous novels that he's written. It wasn't commissioned by Warner Brothers. He just took these characters and said, what if the Coyotes sued the Acme company, and a big what if. And then Warner Brothers had the rights to the characters, and so they actually made the movie, $70 million. It's sitting out there. And then in last December, they said, we're not going to release it. It's already done. It's already been screened for everyone, but we're going to write it off as a tax write-off instead. And there was a giant outroar. And it didn't get written off at the end of last year. Then this outroar came back towards March of this year, because that was the first quarter of this year. And they actually shopped it to like Netflix and stuff. And they got some offers from Paramount and Netflix and people that they haven't confessed to getting offers from. And they turned down all the offers and didn't counter offer. So we don't know, what the offers were, what amount they were for. We don't know what they would have accepted. First quarter goes by, still not written off. It's just in this limbo. So next quarter, April, May, June, that's gone by. I looked it up before we came on here. Still in limbo. If you want it, come buy it. And we haven't written it off yet, but we're not entertaining offers, and we're not countering offers. So it's just sitting there. So is this fan fiction? I don't know. And if it is, even if it gets made, it could still never get released. There you go. That's all I wanted to say.
I think I have just a few thoughts. One, obviously, like you said, there is a difference. I think what is similar is the process. So like if you want to write Star Wars novels, like I don't see why like writing some fan fiction of Star Wars wouldn't be like a bad place to get that practice, right? The other thing is, does fan fiction have to be legitimized, quote unquote, by the industry for it to have any purpose, right? Because I think that part of the essence of fan fiction is that it's created by fans and it's read by fans, and it doesn't have to become published or in this or made into a film for that part of it to exist and to matter for those people.
That I don't want to declare the edict of that's where it belongs, but it's by fans for fans, right?
Yeah.
And it can be its own entity and stay in that container, but it's leaking out of the container.
It's
like with the
leaking
Harry
out.
Styles stuff and
It's interesting. Hey, Jon Meyers,
yes.
you go to a book
Okay.
such as this, The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal.
Available in our bookshop.
You have this title page.
Yes.
And then you have this title page.
Yes.
Where, by the way, that's her signature right there. Why do you have two?
Well, that's called front matter. I'm looking at Coyote versus Acme. This one also has two. Let me look at David Bell's book. I had David Bell's book sitting here upside down, and I just sat it down, right? You know that quote he said about us?
Yeah.
It's by this other author on the back of his book.
What?
Not really. I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be funny? There are no other. No one. We're the only ones that are gentle.
Oh.
Well, there's where he wrote to me on that layover.
Aww.
There's not two layovers. Page. There's not. His other ones are more wonderful reviews. He's got 2 pages of wonderful reviews of his previous works. He does not have 2 layover pages.
So I ask that because I found this video on the internet.
You like the way I avoided answering the question?
Yeah. I found this video on the internet that I thought was interesting. I'm assuming it's true, but it has an answer to that question, and so I'm going to show it to you. I'm not going to be the one doing the Hey Jon Meyers today. Here's what he says is the reason. This better be true or else I'm spreading lies. Here we go. Do you see it?
Yes.
See something strange? Inside every book, there is a page that just shouldn't exist. Let me show you. Okay, so this is the book's cover, and it obviously has the title. And inside you have the title page, which also has the book's title, but additional information like subtitles, author's name, publisher's name, all of that. But in between these, there is another page that has just the title. And by the way, this is in every book. Why is this even here? Why is this necessary? Well, this is called the half title page. See, in the old days, printing the book and binding the book were 2 different processes. And when the printers sent the book to the bookbinders, they put in this half title page to protect the book and the main title page from getting damaged during the bookbinding process. Now, obviously, in modern printing, this is no longer necessary, but the half title page has still stuck around as a small little salute to the pioneers of printing.
First of all,
yes.
Not all of that is true because we just looked at some books where there isn't the half title page.
William Bernhardt's book that does not have, it just has 1.
Right.
Where's your dad's book?
I doubt his has 1.
All right, continue while I look for your dad.
So then like this one, it's not a half title page. It's just a brown page. It's just, here's just an extra page.
Oh.
And then it has another one. And then it has another one. So like, I think it does make sense that it's protecting it. And then I know, like, don't make fun of me. When Brandon Sanderson is signing his books, they don't have the covers on yet. So
True.
It makes sense that you would have that top page to protect anything underneath it. But then if it got ruined, what are you going to do with it?
Sell it as a
This Hey Jon Meyers has more questions than answers.
Your dad's book, Crawl, Walk, Run, just has 1.
It doesn't have the half title page.
Nope. It has other front matter, but it doesn't have the half title.
So there you go.
So we're gonna have a half title page.
Oh, we are?
I don't know.
Because my thought, here was my thought when he said that, oh, it's like a tradition. It's also, imagine how many, if you print 100 copies of a book, that's 100 pages that are useless, killing trees.
Well, if we would have done my original idea and embedded a seed in every page,
Oh.
After you read the book, you could plant the book, and then it would grow more trees. That was my original idea for our book, people.
Wow. I don't recall you
I
sharing
brought
that.
that up. I said, how weird can we get with the formatting? This is before we even started it. And you're like, what? And I'm like putting a seed or a seed packet in every book.
Wow.
But we didn't do that.
That's like when WALL-E came out, the movie, the
Yeah.
DVD. It was the first DVD that you could get it was just in a cardboard cover. It didn't have the plastic. It was in
Oh.
cardboard because they were saving plastic. And then they stopped doing that. So I was like, how much do you really care?
Well, if you want to base it on trees, then the font should be like 6.
Yeah.
And cram it all in a few pages as possible. Is there a tree with a seeds? Or I mean, I've seen trees I've planted a tree and it was a sapling. Like, can you go buy seeds for a tree like you do for a flower?
Yes, but it would take forever.
Well, that's not our problem. Our problem is replacing the trees torn down for our book.
Well,
So
hopefully my goal would be to get our book printed on recycled paper. That would be
okay.
cool. But I don't know if Amazon will let us do that.
I don't think that's a choice, but that could be a choice for the future. But
Yeah.
I was thinking we could just, on the ones that we ship or we sign, we
Oh.
could give them a seed packet
Oh.
with a Write Better Together sticker on it.
Wow. That would be cool. Probably be more beneficial though to give them a seed packet for like wildflowers or something.
They don't print books on flowers.
Yeah, but they don't print books on trees that people aren't going to plant and then that grow an inch a year.
The tree that I planted is actually fuller. So I planted it 3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, but it's not taller. If anything, it's shorter. I don't know how that happened. So what kind, and I don't have the answer, so if you don't know, you'll have to talk about it next time. What kind of, okay, this page right here, what kind of tree did it come from? When people always say that, the paper comes from trees. Is it oak? What is it? Pine tree?
Wow.
What is it?
That's a really good question. I would hope that it would come from a fast-growing tree.
Like bamboo?
Probably not bamboo. But like some trees are faster growing and so you're not cutting down a tree that it's going to take 30 years to replace. A huge cause of deforestation and loss of trees in Asia is disposable chopsticks.
Yes, I'm aware of that. So do you refuse your chopsticks when they offer them?
No, because I don't even think they
either.
would take them back. It's like straws, right? Like if you refuse your straw, they're just going to throw it away.
No. Like when I get carry out, they actually have a stack of giant boxes that probably have 10,000 chopsticks in each box. You could refuse to not take those.
Oh,
chopsticks.
yes. Then yes. But if they just put it in there's nothing you can do about it.
No. Yeah, I mean,
I thought you meant at a restaurant.
Oh no, I meant when I get carry out and I pick it up myself. I don't have the DoorDash people breathing all over it.
Speaking of eco-friendly,
Yes.
Aldi has started asking if you want to print your receipt or not. And I'm super grateful for 2 reasons. One, receipts are wasteful. We have just stop with the receipts. 2, receipts have BPA on them, which can get into your skin. Don't touch receipts, people.
Dude, so when we like have meetings and I have notes, here's a note on a little loose leaf. This is our meeting, people. When we have a meeting before the show, half of my meeting notes are on the back of receipts.
Oh no.
For real. Because I don't want to. I want my receipts so I can take the little survey on them.
Oh,
which
that's fair.
You could still do that. You could still do that on an email, but so I feel like I should use it. So I use it for shopping lists. I reuse them. Even if there's stuff printed on the back, I still cram stuff in the little corners of them.
Well, try not to touch them too much.
I'll put on gloves before I touch them.
Yeah.
If you want a receipt for
Write Better Together, be sure to like and subscribe and share these episodes with your friends. Also, we forgot to share how to share your call to action. So if you want to respond to Fallon's call to action, make sure that you go to our show notes at writebettertogether.com/podcast. You can also respond in our social media posts. Whenever we share these episodes, we usually will put the call to action so you can respond right there. Or if you really want to, you can email us at writebettertogethernow@gmail.com, which means that now it's time for, and Jon Meyers is so excited, I can see it on his face, the final act.
Emily.
Jon Meyers.
We're kind of known for, besides being known for being gentle, we're kind of known for being positive, like putting positive spins on things. Our book is right anyway. If this even when this bad thing's happening, even though there's also chapters about when good things are happening too, but when this bad thing happens, use that as a positive fuel for your creativity and write anyway. I believe that you, Emily, have the ability to turn any situation positive. So I've named this game Keep It Positive. What will you be playing for? I will be showing you 3 clips. I was watching the internet once again, and I will be showing you 3 clips. They might be sad. And so you will take this sad situation and find the bright side to it. You will have to tell us a positive side to the sad thing that I'm going to show you. There'll be 3 of them. They're all short. What are your prizes? If you get 1 right, remember when I asked you what your favorite flavors were? That might not even been on the show, but I asked Emily what her favorite flavors were, and she said rosemary. And I said, oh, I like rosemary too. Remember that?
Yeah.
I went and got you an entire pallet of rosemary. Like, a big shipping pallet. You know what those look like?
Yeah.
Those wooden pallets. But then I like rosemary too. So I ate all the rosemary. I'm sorry. I used it because I use it on everything. But I still have the pallet. Look at that. Look at this pallet.
It's so cute.
Isn't that the most adorable little pallet you've ever seen?
Okay. I knew that making things small made them cuter, but I never thought that a palette could be cute.
Yep.
It's so cute.
Right. So that's if you get 1 right. If you get 2 right, Gummy Pickles by Clausen. I got 2 pickles. I got 2 pickles. I got 2 pickles. Hey. There you go. And if you get 3 right, speaking of fan fiction, is this fan fiction, Emily? Pandora Flakes. Frosted Flakes is crossed out for Pandora. And there's a little avatar. We talk about avatar on this show before. There's a little avatar symbol up there.
Interesting.
Don't pay attention to the 50% off sticker on there. Is that fan fiction? Is serial fan fiction?
I don't think so.
What is it? An homage to Avatar by Tony the Tiger?
Double marketing, cross marketing.
If it were fan fiction, is it Avatar fan fiction or is it Tony the Tiger fan fiction?
I want this fan fiction, Tony the Tiger in the world of Avatar.
You have it. It's right here.
What happens when
it's right there?
What happens when the Na'vi eat Frosted Flakes?
Is Jerry Seinfeld's Unfrosted? Is that fan fiction?
Man.
To the Pop-Tart? It uses all the Kellogg's characters.
Yes, maybe.
I think it might be. Don't encourage screenwriters with that, even though that's a great film. All right, so I will be showing you 3 clips. Can you see that?
Yeah. There's a sad little bird. It says this baby has been abandoned by his mom. Show some love for him. So what Jon Meyers may not know is that I tried to rescue a bird a while ago and it died.
Aw.
So this hits close to home. I have a lot of feelings about this because that looks like a fledgling. It doesn't look like a bird that was abandoned by its mom.
Oh.
A lot of people rescue birds that were not actually needed, that didn't actually need to be rescued. If they have feathers, then they're usually fine. So my positive spin is that if they let that bird out into the wild, it would probably be fine. And if they take it to a rescue center, then they'd probably be able to help it out and set it free, and it would be fine.
Wow. I learned something. Fake news on the YouTube. Who could imagine? Who would ever have thought? Who'd have thunk? All right.
The baby bird I tried to rescue was actually being attacked by a cat. The tree where its parents lived had been cut down, and it did not have feathers. So that one did need to be rescued, but it didn't survive the cat attack. Should I turn that into a positive spin?
Yeah. What are you going to... Yeah, turn that into something positive.
I can't. It's too sad. The baby died.
Okay.
That little bird is flying happily in heaven now.
Aw. All right. Here's the next clip. It
says,
all right.
Sad duck.
Here we have a duck, and I'm going to play the clip for you, Emily.
You know I have a sensitive spot for birds, right?
Put a positive spin on what this duck is about to go through.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Aww.
the duck spilled his water in his petals. He was so happy to get his petals
So
and
happy.
his ice water.
Oh. All right.
You know,
yes?
He's still drinking the water that fell in the puddle.
Okay.
He's enjoying that little puddle. He probably gets to splash around in it, play with the petals, because when it was in the cup, he couldn't really reach it.
So that's even better.
It's even better. Now he has a little mini pond.
I saw a crow that couldn't reach. Have you seen this? A crow couldn't reach the water, so he was putting rocks in the water.
Yes, I saw that. They're so smart.
Apparently smarter than a duck. That's for sure.
I used to have ducks that looked like that too.
Okay, can you see that?
Yes. Oh my goodness, more birds. That looks like a pelican.
Wait, let me introduce it. All right, so there you go. Our third sad bird in a row is this lovely pelican trying to eat a capybara. Let's see if he or she succeeds.
Oh my goodness. Please don't eat this.
They ask you how you are, you just say that you're fine, and you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never.
So what happened was the pelican was uselessly gnawing on the capybara, who just does not care at all. And the screen goes black and white as the pelican looks very sad at its lack of success. I think the positive
that into a positive.
Well, I think it is a positive already because the capybara didn't get eaten.
Fair enough.
It depends on whose story you're telling. The pelican looks sad, but the capybara looks happy. But, you know, pelican, if he had succeeded, I don't think that would have gone down well.
Well, they put it down in their neck thing.
Yeah, but it's not something they're used to eating. What would happen to all the fur?
I initially thought, well, he needs to kill it because it's going to go down in his neck thing. But they don't kill fish before they swallow them.
No, but can they swallow fish that big?
I'm not a pelican. You're the bird expert.
Well, I'm glad that the capybara lived.
There you go. So I think you succeeded.
Yay.
In putting all positive things. So here's your palette of Tony the Tiger pickle palette. You have to eat the pickles on your Pandora flakes.
Ugh. Thank you.
Well done. People at home, we
couldn't have
done
it without you.